Hi everyone. Have you ever gone to buy a box of golf balls and wonder, is it worth it for me to spend that extra 10 bucks to buy this better quality golf ball versus say something in a similar brand that's a little bit lower price? Especially for all you mid-handicap golfers like myself, is it worth it for us to spend an extra $10 to $15 to get a top quality golf ball that the tour players are playing? Is it going to give us that extra spin that we need on the green to help us stop that ball on a dime? Well, in this video today, that's what we're going to find out. Welcome to the first ever edition of Garage Golf Ball Battle! Today, we're pitting the Srixon Q-Star versus the Srixon Q-Star Tour. Difference is about $10 per box. We're going to test the pitching wedge, the 7-iron, and of course, the Big Daddy, the driver. We're going to see what these balls do for each scenario, and we're going to give you the numbers at the end to see, all you mid-handicap golfers, is it worth it for us to spend that extra money? We're going to find out today. So as you can see, we have a brand new sleeve of Srixon Q-Stars and a brand new sleeve of Srixon Q-Star Tours. We're going to start with the pitching wedge first. Let's get started. Just so you know, the Srixon Q-Star will be a white tracer and will be listed as pitching wedge, and the Srixon Q-Star Tour will have a red tracer and will be listed as pitching wedge 2. Next up is a 7-iron. We're going Q-Star first. Set the pin about 140 yards out. Okay, that's 3 shots down with the 7-iron on the Q-Star. Now it's the Q-Star Tour. The big daddy, as we talked about, the driver. Starting again with the Q-Star. Let's see what happens. Time. Last up, Srixon Q-Star Tour. Let's get 3 good shots in with this ball as well. Six solid shots with the driver. Let's take a look at the numbers. Okay, so taking a look at the numbers, remember that the pitching wedge on the top, the white pitching wedge, is a Q-Star. The red numbers at the bottom are the red pitching wedge, is a Q-Star Tour. So shot miles per hour, this is going to be the miles per hour for the ball. We average 85 with the Q-Star and 81 with the Q-Star Tour. So 4 miles per hour difference in ball speed with the Q-Star over the Q-Star Tour. The club speed, remember, that's auto-populated by SkyTrack based upon the ball speed number, so we're not going to take too much precedence on that number here. Launch angle, 32 degrees with the Q-Star versus 33.4 with the Q-Star Tour. Backspin, 67.44 with the Q-Star, 59.54 with the Q-Star Tour. So a little bit interesting there. You'll notice we average almost 800 basically 800 rotations more with the Q-Star versus the Q-Star Tour, and you would tend to think that the Tour ball would have more spin than, say, something that you would spend less money for. So that was also some interesting data there, and you're going to see that trend a little bit across the board here. Let's take a look at some more important numbers. Flight time, 5.2 with the Q-Star versus 5.1 with the Q-Star Tour. Descent angles are pretty identical, 52 and 51. Peak height is actually a little higher with the Q-Star at 25 versus 24 with the Q-Star Tour. Offline, very similar across the board. Total carry distance, 103 with the Q-Star versus 99 with the Q-Star Tour. And total distance, 104 versus 100. Very little rollout in these testings because we are hitting the green for the most part. So you're not going to see a lot of rollout in regards to the numbers there. Okay, so moving on to the 7-iron, we're seeing, again, 4 miles per hour faster ball speed with the Q-Star versus the Q-Star Tour. The Q-Star was averaging at 95. Q-Star Tour was averaging at 91. The launch angles, again, almost identical, 26.2 versus 26.4 for the Q-Star Tour. Backspin, we got 41.32 with the Q-Star, 32.76 with the Q-Star Tour. So again, very interesting to me that the Q-Star, we're looking at almost 1,000 more rotations on the Q-Star versus the Q-Star Tour, which is, again, quite interesting to me. Flight time, 5.4 seconds with the Q-Star versus 5.2 seconds with the Q-Star Tour. Descent angle was 46 degrees with the Q-Star versus 42 with the Q-Star Tour. Height, maximum height with the Q-Star was 25. Maximum height with the Q-Star Tour was 23. Offline, -10 with the Q-Star and 7 with the Q-Star Tour. And I'll show you some more info on this offline with some shot plotting maps that we'll have for you to look at as well. Total carry, 132 with the Q-Star versus 128 with the Q-Star Tour. And then with the rollout, 139 with the Q-Star versus 136 with the Q-Star Tour, looking at the 7-iron numbers. Now taking a look at the driver numbers, here's where you'll see things kind of turn a little bit. The average miles per hour with the Q-Star with the driver was 129 for again, remember this is ball data, not club data. And then 131 with the Q-Star Tour in comparison. Launch angle 13.5 with the Q-Star, 13.7 with the Q-Star Tour. Total backspin, looking at 2011 with the Q-Star, 2097 with the Q-Star Tour. So in this situation with the driver at a lower lofted setting, of course, we had more spin with the Q-Star Tour versus the Q-Star. Flight time 4.9 seconds with the Q-Star versus 5.2 seconds with the Q-Star Tour. Descent angle was identical at 27 for both. Height, maximum height was 17 yards with the Q-Star versus 19 with the Q-Star Tour. I was negative 14 degrees offline with the Q-Star versus 4 degrees with the Q-Star Tour. Again, I'll be showing you some shot plotting here in just a second. 199 yards total carry with the Q-Star for a total rollout of 228. And with the Q-Star Tour, I actually average 10 yards further with the driver at 209 yards with a total rollout of 236. And being really honest with you guys, these were 6 pretty identical shots with the driver, I feel. I tend to hit the driver a lot better than as far as more consistently than I do with the irons. So these are pretty pure numbers as far as really solid strikes for my swing anyways. Again, I'm not going to be one that would total carry without wind assistance or anything like that. 250, with a total rollout of 275. I tend to see my driver shots roll out to about 250. So this is what I'm pretty much looking at in regards to numbers. And I feel that these strikes were pretty consistent across the board with both balls. So now here's some shot plotting for you. And I do apologize, I didn't get a screenshot of the pitching wedge shots, but I did get one of the 7-iron and the driver. And here's where I found things also a little bit interesting. And I'm not sure if this is the ball that would be doing this or if this is my swing type, but again, I felt they were pretty consistent across the board. You'll notice again the white tracer is the Q-Star, the red tracer is the Q-Star Tour. This is the 7-iron shots. You'll tend to see a dispersion as far as the ball drawing a little bit more with the Q-Star and going left of the center line, whereas you see there with the Q-Star Tour, the shots tend to be going down the center line, still maybe drawing, but they end up being a little bit further right of that center line. Here we have the driver shots. Again, same thing. I see a little bit more draw with that Q-Star versus the Q-Star Tour. Again, the Q-Star Tour with the driver in this scenario actually did end up going further for pretty much every shot than the Q-Star. But I tend to see more of a draw bias setting, or more of a draw bias with that Q-Star versus the Q-Star Tour, which also tends to be spinning less except for with that driver. So just some interesting data. Again, as far as going over the numbers here and seeing what these balls were doing for each type of shot I was hitting. And I'm just trying to hit straight shots. I wasn't trying to play a draw or a fade in either scenario. But also very interesting to see on this shot plotting map what exactly these balls tend to do on a solid strike. So that's it, everyone. All the numbers have been calculated, all the data has been reviewed and looked at, and overall in the end, who's our big winner? Who did we feel overall was the better ball for our situation and our swing speed based upon the data that we reviewed? There were some positive cases for both sides, but overall in the end, in our first ever inaugural golf ball battle of 2018, which still be a lot more to come, by the way, our winner, hands down, is the Srixon Q-Star. Overall, in the end, the numbers were just too similar between the two balls. Didn't see a ton of extra distance, a ton of extra swing speed, and all that kind of thing that would basically want us to switch to go to the store and spend $10 extra to buy the Q-Star Tour, when ultimately the Q-Star will do the exact same thing for you. We just felt overall it was a better ball. And again, as an average golfer with an average swing speed, very cost oriented. I don't want to have to spend $40 to $50 for a golf ball, for basically 12 golf balls that I might lose 6 of them in a round. So ultimately, for our data and what we reviewed, hands down, Q-Star was the better ball. We look forward to doing these for you in the future. If there's something data-wise that I didn't put in the video for you guys that you really want to see, or different scenarios or different things like that, that's the difference with our channel, okay? I understand that the big guys, all the big reviewers, they have 300,000 subscribers, and you know who they are. We're not going to mention any names here. But, they swing 100 to 120 miles per hour. They're pros for a reason, all right? We're not pros for the most part. Some of you may be, but hopefully you still like our channel and what we do. But for the majority of our target audience, we're reaching out to you, the average golfer, the everyday golfer, even the hacker in some situations. So that's what we want to do reviews for, okay, for everybody like yourself. And that's what we're aiming to do in 2018. We're going to try to get a video a week out to you guys if at all possible, reviewing information, trying to do club reviews if possible. We can get those done for you. That's going to be really important for us. But we're ultimately very excited about 2018, what's coming your way. We're going to be doing golf ball battles for you. Next up probably will be Bridgestone. We got a bunch of Bridgestone balls we're going to review in different series for different types of golfers. And we're going to see how much that really affects everyday data. It's very similar to this video. So we thank you for watching. Had a great time doing the video for you. And we look forward to seeing you again here in the near future. Thanks again.